Always update your GPS. It was the end of my freshman year of college, so my friend and I spent a weekend at my family's cabin by ourselves to celebrate. The weekend was fairly uneventful. The most exciting things to happen involved burning a pizza on the grill and a chipmunk trying to join me while I was using the outhouse. But then we had to leave. Even though I had gone to the cabin every summer since I was born, I didn't really know how to get to and from it. We had been using my friend's dad's GPS. It was pretty old and probably hadn't been updated in quite a while, which is likely why it took us where it did. The route we took was unfamiliar to me. But what did I know? It was a GPS. I trusted it enough to bring us where we needed to go. It took us down a twisted side road that I knew was wrong, but I kept going anyways, thinking that maybe going through the woods would be faster. That's when it told me to take a left. I obeyed, but was extremely confused because it looked like a dirt road. I slowed down to look at the GPS when my friend let out a horrified, "Oh my god!" I looked up and realized we were not on a road at all. We were in someone's driveway. Then I saw the dolls. They were worn by the weather, full of dirt and faded from the sun. The ones I took note of were the clowns and the bodiless heads. There were so many I wasn't able to take them all in, and every single doll was hanging from a tree. My friend and I both were shrieking at this point, her yelling at me to back up and get out of there as soon as possible, me yelling "what the fuck" over and over and over again. We safely got back onto the main road, and followed that until the GPS gave us a different route, which took us home without further incident. Although I didn't see the living person in that rundown house, it was one of the most terrifying things that has happened to me. It didn't feel real, even real while it was happening. I felt like I had been dropped in the middle of a horror movie about a serial killer with a doll fetish or something like that. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if the person living there had been there when we pulled up to their house. But I try not to let my imagination get the best of me. Whoever is responsible for that house, let's not meet. The delivery gone wrong. I lived in a city in central Ohio that begins with a C and has a big college that I lived near. I attended a different college than the one I mentioned and made the 20-minute drive from the city to that college. I also worked nights as a pizza delivery man in the city and the surrounding suburbs. One night, I had an order in the town where my college is located, which is a smaller suburban city northwest of my home city. Now, this call occurred during what my coworkers and I refer to as the dead hour, which is just before the shop closed at 1 a.m. I begrudgingly took the pizza, got in the car, and plugged the address into the GPS. I noticed that the house was located off on a back road in what looked like a sparsely populated area. Now, not thinking much of this, I drove up Route 315 to I-270 East and exited. After passing through downtown, the cemetery, and the college, I drove through some subdevelopments and then on to the smaller road where the house was located. The GPS notified me that I had arrived at my destination, but to my surprise, the house was boarded up. I noticed that there was a small shed in the back of the house that had a small window. There was a flickering light in the window. At this point, almost every red flag had gone off in my head, but I knew my hard-ass boss would be pissed if I wimped out on this delivery. So, I proceeded towards the shed. As I got closer to the shed, I heard a rustling in the bushes next to the driveway. No, I didn't know what it was. It was at that moment. Then, I heard a man whisper, "Here they come, Billy! 4-5, 4-5. At that point, a man jumped out of the bushes, and 2 other men jumped out of the shed. At that moment, They they were carrying knives and were wearing these long robes and white masks. I made it back to the car just in time, but one of the assailants managed to slip my arm. As I escaped, I could see the assailants standing in the middle of the road looking pissed off. I probably drove 90 miles per hour on the way back. When I got to the shop, everyone looked shocked. After explaining everything to them, we contacted the police and they dispatched a few officers to that house to check out what was going on. Finally, when they got there, the assailants were gone. They found some drug paraphernalia in the shed and some ropes and weird torture equipment. Always remember, carry pepper spray, everyone. A wrong turn. I am a 20-year-old female. I have issues working standard jobs, so I work as a delivery girl for Uber Eats. Usually, deliveries go quite well, but occasionally, my GPS app will have issues finding the right address, and I will get a little lost. I was on my last delivery of the night before going home. I picked up the food from the restaurant at about 6:45 p.m., just as the sun was setting down. I put the drop-off address into my GPS and drove to where I thought it was. My GPS led me past 2 apartment complexes and into a residential neighborhood. I passed one house. As soon as I drive past it, the porch lights come on. That's not too out of the ordinary, to be honest. Some people do have automatic lights. What was odd was there was a bright red SUV with some pink writing on its back window, parked just off the side of this house. Essentially, this house ended. There was a tree and some bushes right by the door, and this car was parked just past these bushes. Anyways, my GPS tells me to keep driving in a very small private road just past this house. This address is, of course, wrong, but I decide to get out and take a look for the address. Maybe it was one of the houses, or I could see an address on the apartment buildings. I walked past the house that had the SUV parked next to it, as this was the nearest house to the one my GPS told me to go to. As soon as I come into view of the house, porch lights come on again, which is odd because I didn't even cross in front of the property this time. The porch lights come on, let me read the address, and realize this was not the place either. I considered going down the alley by the SUV, but something in my gut tells me this is a very, very bad idea. I get back into my car, drive around for maybe 5 more minutes. My GPS tries to send me to the same place again, so I decide to stay in my car, but drive by all the houses and try to read the addresses. I drive down the whole road again, no match. Then I did something dumb. I decide I would try to read the writing on the back of the SUV, so I drive past the house, porch lights come on and stay on. I try to read it, but I can't make anything of it. Then I see a face pop out of the bushes next to the SUV. Well, as much of a face as possible. This person is wearing a ski mask. He gets out of the bushes and he's wearing all black clothing. He taps on the window of the SUV, and another person in a ski mask and black clothes comes out of the passenger side of the SUV. They both start fast walking towards my car. I notice something shiny and reflective in the hands of one that was in the bushes. I can't say for sure if it was a knife. I wasn't going to stick around long enough to find out what it was, though. I throw my car into reverse and speed out of there. I look back one more time as I drove away. Both men in masks had stopped walking towards me, but what they were doing was even more creepy to me. They just stared at my car as I drove off. Now, I called the cops shortly afterwards. They called me back and said they investigated, but the SUV was empty and nobody was at the house. They made sure I was safe and called it there. I don't deliver after dark anymore.